Hi guys, so in this particular video we're actually going to be talking about post requests in Dart/Flutter, and in this case I'm actually going to be using this JSON placeholder fake API. And why I'm calling it fake API is because if you Google fake API you actually get to see this. So it's one of the first requests that actually comes up. It says it's a free fake REST API. So that's just where I got the name from, fake API. And in this case, we're actually talking about the post requests. So I've actually gone to their documentation. If you get to their homepage, this is their homepage, and they just have all this here, and they're telling you how all these things are. But I don't know how it actually works, so I went to their guide, which is this, to actually see how I can make a post request. So in creating a resource is where I actually found it. So this is the method here. This is actually written in JavaScript, but it's the same thing. They are just telling you how it actually works. So here we have JSON, we have the API URL being passed here, then the method is post, and we have the body of the request. So I'm going to use Insomnia to actually show you what's actually going on here. So here we have Insomnia, and I've actually passed this in. This is the API URL, and this is actually the body of my request. And once I click on send, it actually does this, and after a few seconds it brings back response telling me, okay, I think I should change my request this time. Luigi, I should just send this time around. Yeah, so it has changed, it has sent my request. So it sends Luigi do 2101. So it has actually created it, and you see here it says the request has succeeded, and a new resource has been created as a result. This is the typical response after post request or some put requests. So now we actually want to do this in Flutter or in Dart. So I'm just going to use an already existing package. So one other thing you need to actually notice what the body looks like and what the response actually looks like. And I'm actually going to create two model classes. I'm going to call one of the model classes fake request, and I'm also going to call the other model class, the one that represents what you actually get from the API itself, fake response. So fake request is the API that handles sending stuff to the database. Fake response is the model class that handles what comes from the database. So if I come to this place, you actually see I've actually created a file called fake model, and within fake model I actually have fake response. And fake response, because this is actually always what is going to come from the database itself. That's why I've named it say fake response, and I've actually removed the to JSON method in this particular model class. I've only left the from JSON because the only thing that will actually come from this, the only thing that will be coming here will be responses. We are never sending something with this model class. But you notice the fake request class, it doesn't have the from JSON method, it only has the to JSON method, and it's because it's only this API, it's only this model that will actually be sending things to our API or to our database. So now we then go to where we actually write the API code, and it will actually be here. So our function name is actually called posts, and is a feature that returns a fake response. And remember our fake response class is the one with only the from JSON method, because to always get things from there. So I've passed in these arguments, or these parameters rather. I've passed in these parameters, and this function is also asynchronous. And here we're using HTTP, the HTTP package. Notice that when we actually made this get request, we did http.get, but in this particular point we're actually doing http.post, and we're now using the URI parse JSON type code. This is just the URL. So another thing the post request could actually do is that it can take headers and it can also take body, but that doesn't mean get request can't actually take headers too. So if I come up here and I put a comma, I don't think you could actually add body. You can't add the body, but in a get request you could actually like add headers. So you see it, we can add headers. But what makes the post request different is that in its own case it can take both headers. It can take a header and it can also take a body. So the body actually takes the body in this case we're actually like using the fake requests model class. And once we finish actually pass once we finish passing the parameters into the fake request into the fake requests constructors, we actually like call the to.json method on the class to actually like convert everything that is all the dart objects that are being passed in here into that object into JSON objects actually, so that the database can actually like understand what we're sending to it. And in this our own case we have this header, and this header here will just actually be this. It will just actually be this here. So your headers always take they will always take oh not there, it's actually supposed to be here. Your headers always take map objects. So headers cannot just take simple strings like you say you just want to remove this. You want to remove this and say you want to remove all this too. It can't work. It must always be a map. So it is a map of string too. So it cannot be a map of string and dynamic. It must be a map of two strings. So when you are passing your headers, you have to pass in two strings. So this is what it actually like looks like. If you notice, this Wallet Africa's API, and this is actually it. You have content type application. Then some cases you might have something like authorization bearer token, and if you have things like that too, you also pass in the arguments the way it is actually like written. So in that case you might just have something like this, and if it is an authorization bearer token, you have something like, you put your comma here, then you do authorization, then this is the authorization, then here you have something like bearer, then you can just maybe you pass something like, okay, let's say we have another string called token here, then you can just do something like this. You cannot call this token. This is usually the format it takes in some cases, yeah, or in most cases. In some cases you could actually like have the token being passed as the body itself, not as the header. So in that case you just pass it in to the body, like you pass it into maybe like the fake request. But our current fake request class doesn't actually accept the token, so we are just going to agree that we're actually passing it as a header in this case. So you just pass it something like this, and it should actually like work for you. Could actually like show you an example, but that's actually on GitHub of how you can actually, what it actually like looks like for this wallet API. I've actually worked with the API before. So essentially in most of these cases you just have things like this. I'm not going to be running this code to actually like test it to show you guys most of its behavior, because I've not actually built any UI to actually like do anything like this, but I'm just trying to show what the API call actually like looks like. It looks more like your get request. Once you've actually like achieved this, the very next thing you just need to do is to use the correct status code to actually like make it return something. So in our case we actually like saw that 201 was the correct status code. So if the status code is equal to 201, we just return what is actually like what we actually like get from the data, what we're actually like getting from the database. And in this case we're actually getting the fake response, or using the from JSON method to actually like convert the we are actually using the from JSON method to actually like retrieve all those that object after we've decoded them with JSON decode. And sometimes just know that sometimes your when you make a post request, what you actually like response to you may be more complex than just the simple fake response model class to actually like done. Like it could be way more complex than just what you're saying here right now. It could have more than just this thing you're actually like saying here. Sometimes they will just have like many things that they actually like respond to you with. So in this case, look at what I'm talking about. So you have something like this now, response code of 200, and you see something like this, data transactions. I have another one. So this is actually going to be, you're going to need a bigger model class than we actually like have. So you should note what the API is responding with when you're actually like building your model classes, so that you actually like build the correct model class to handle all the use cases or the data that you're going to be getting from the backend itself. So I think with this is actually like enough to actually like explain how post request work. I think I might just do another video where I actually like work with it to actually like show you step by step how things actually like happen within a post request. But for this, I think is actually enough to explain how post request actually like work. They look like they are similar to your get request. They just have to take bodies in some cases. Some post requests could actually not take bodies, they just take headers. Like you could actually like just send, but it doesn't make sense to actually like make it a post request if it doesn't take a body. That's the point of having post put patch request. They have to take body to actually like set up things in the database. And in this our own case, we actually like sending this particular body. So essentially what we are seeing here now is just what we've actually done here in Insomnia. We've passed in the URL, we've given it the body, we send the request, and it actually gets in this request for us. So here we've passed in the URL, we've set up the headers for the request, and we've given it the body, and we're converting the body to a JSON method, and we're also noting the status code, and we're actually decoding what the status code is actually like sending to us. And there's another thing I want to point out. So this fake request to JSON method, you notice that we have title, body, and user ID. Note that they actually like correlate to what we actually like have here. We have title, body, and user ID. Just make sure that they actually like correlate. If not, you actually like have issues sending something to the database itself, because the database has to actually understand how you're sending things. The way this is actually like written matters a lot. It just really matters. So you should actually like take this into account. So I think maybe I will do a video where I actually like make a full post request with the Flutter app, and you guys will actually like get to see what it looks like on an Android app. Like once what it looks like when you actually like build it with Flutter. But I think this actually goes to actually like explain what's actually like happening when you're trying to make a post request. So I think I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.